The first time I heard the noise, I told myself it was the house settling. Old houses do that, stretch and breathe like tired animals, especially when the temperature shifts. That's what I told myself, and I believed it for a while. I'd only lived in the house for 3 months. It was my first time living alone. A small, creaky 2-bedroom bungalow on the outskirts of town. A steal for the price. The last owners had moved out suddenly, which the realtor casually brushed aside as a job relocation. I didn't question it. I was just excited to have a place of my own. The first month, it was the usual stuff. Pipes clunking, floors creaking when I wasn't walking on them, just enough to make me glance over my shoulder or turn down the TV to listen. The house had an attic, one of those drop-down ladder situations, but I'd only been up there once to shove a couple boxes of winter clothes into a corner. I had no reason to go back up. Then I noticed little things. A bowl left on the counter when I knew I'd put it in the sink. A draft in the hallway that felt colder than the rest of the house, like I'd walked through a pocket of something wrong. And once I found a footprint, a smudge of dirt on the hardwood near the front door. It was small, maybe a man's size 7 or 8, not mine. My shoes were bigger, and besides, I always left them by the mat. But it was a 100-year-old house. Things shift, right? Dust falls, walls settle. That's what I told myself. Until the footsteps started. It was about a month in when I heard them. Not the random pops and creaks anymore, but distinct, deliberate steps, slow and soft, directly above my bedroom. I froze, listening. It wasn't pacing exactly. It was more like someone shifting their weight, moving in a careful circle. I called my best friend Lisa the next morning. She laughed, told me I was watching too many horror movies, and promised to come over for a sleepover. "We'll check the attic together," she said. "Ghost hunting time." That night, the noises didn't come. The next night, when I was alone again, they returned. I stood in the hallway under the attic hatch, staring up at it. It looked perfectly normal, just a square panel flush with the ceiling, but there was something off about the air. It felt heavy, like the whole house was holding its breath. I turned to walk away when I heard it. 2 soft, deliberate knocks from the other side of the attic door. I left the house that night and slept in my car. The police came the next day. 2 officers, polite but clearly humouring the hysterical young woman's story they'd already decided on before they arrived. They went up into the attic. Nothing. No sign of forced entry, no footprints, no squatters. They suggested it might be animals, raccoons maybe, or a large rat. I didn't buy it. I knew what footsteps sounded like. That night I heard breathing. Not my own, something slower, heavier, like someone trying to breathe as quietly as possible. I lay in bed, sheets pulled to my chin, listening. It was so faint, but it was there, just above me. I didn't sleep. The next day I worked up the nerve to go into the attic myself. Broad daylight, kitchen knife in hand. The air up there was thick and stale, tinged with something earthy. Sweat, dirt, something organic. My boxes were shoved to one side, but there was something else in the corner. A pile of blankets, empty bottles, food wrappers. Someone had been living there. My stomach turned over. I backed down the ladder so fast I nearly fell. I locked myself in my bedroom and called the police again. This time they took me seriously. They combed through the attic and the house, but whoever had been there was gone. No sign of forced entry, no unlocked windows, nothing. It made no sense. I stayed with Lisa for a few days while I got the locks changed. When I came back, the house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that felt intentional, like it was waiting for me. That night I heard the knocks again, 2 soft taps, and then the hatch creaked open just an inch. I ran out of the house so fast I left my keys on the table. I called the police from the driveway, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. They came, guns drawn this time. The attic was empty, but the hatch, It was open. I couldn't stay there after that. I moved in with Lisa while I tried to figure out what to do. My stuff was still in the house, but I couldn't bring myself to go back alone. One afternoon, Lisa's brother offered to go with me to pack up. The house felt wrong the second we stepped inside. The air was humid, the smell stronger, sweat, dampness, something sharp beneath it. We packed in silence, both of us too uneasy to joke like we normally would. I went into the bedroom to grab some clothes. That's when I saw the writing on the wall. It was faint, almost invisible in daylight, scratched into the paint near the baseboard. I knelt to read it. "I'm so sorry. Please help me. Don't let him find me." A cold hand gripped my wrist. I screamed and spun, but no one was there. The handprint remained, a smear of dirt on my skin. We left everything and ran. Later, I got a call from the realtor. The last owners hadn't moved for work. They'd fled. They'd found footprints in the attic, too. But they hadn't been made by shoes. They were bare feet, streaked with something dark, something they'd never identified. The owner's cat had gone missing. Their daughter had started whispering to someone in her closet at night. The house was supposed to have been empty for months before I moved in, but I don't think it ever was. Sometimes when I wake up at night, even in my new apartment miles away, I still hear them. 2 soft knocks, and the sound of breathing just above my bed.